Gerald's juice. Gerald's juice. Gerald's juice.
It's showtime, motherfuckers! Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, a brand new episode is upon you. Two Peas on a podcast where we review the latest and sometimes greatest movies every week. Gerald is here with you, and over on the other side is a dude that I had to piece together. All of his body parts were in separate containers, but I put him together. He's back. I think he has, what are those, like snowmobile glasses on? I'm not sure what he was doing prior to the recording. Nicholas, how are you?
Excuse you, sir. These are my Jey Uso glasses. Yeet.
What does that mean?
Also, I'm trying to summon into existence here. I said it in the cold open there, but I want Gerald's juice. We got an audio audience. You're missing this stuff if you're not tuning into the YouTube to view my beautiful sign that says Gerald's juice.
Let's go wide too, so they can see the whole. How do I go to just you? Hang on.
In case you're not going to edit it because you're lazy.
No, that's not it. But how do I go?
Welcome to Gerald flipping around through StreamYard screens. The show. This is the show now.
Let me get IT on the phone. This is fucking crazy. Sorry for audio audience. Hopefully Dane will take some of that out. But yeah, there's Gerald's juice. Okay, all right. Yes.
There he is there. Oh, by the way, the face hugger has now moved over to Deadpool's face. You can see the face hugger is now on Deadpool over here.
I still love that Lawrence
It's
Fishburne
bouncing around.
From like
do you like your hat?
I do like my hat. But I like that Lawrence Fishburne circa 1992 is there for some reason. Nobody's going to know unless they listen to our deep cover.
I can't wait for Horizon and American Saga Part 7 when we meet young cowboy Gerald. It's going to be great.
Nick, tonight we're talking about Beetlejuice. Do not say it a third time because I don't know. I can't deal with
We can't afford Keaton. He's not going to show up, so you could say it as many times as you want, bud.
Now, this movie came out about a month ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was on hiatus. You know that I'm a huge fan of the original film, a huge fan of Michael Keaton, this character, Winona Ryder, etc., Tim Burton. So, you lovingly held on to this one for me because we wanted to review this together. So the main review tonight, I know it's a little late. People are like, Beetlejuice 2. That fucking came out like a year ago. But hey, the P's wanted to do it together. So Beetlejuice will be the main review tonight. Nick, let's tell all the regular listeners, we're getting rid of the one big question. We're not doing that anymore. Play the sound drop one last time. I want to hear it one last time.
I spent so much time working on this sound drop. If I play the sound drop, it means that you have to ask me a question, or I have to ask you a question. Okay, here we go.
You gotta ask yourself a question.
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
How dare you want to take away the segment?
Would you like to see my penis?
He keeps asking me this, folks. He keeps asking.
I asked him a few times prior to recording, and he still won't let me show it to him. I don't know. One big question's gone. Fishing for feedback and like our fan community, which we love, take the opportunity to ask us anything that's not related to what we're trying to get out of them. And it usually has to do with the Flash or Blue Beetle, but that's fine. So we're going to introduce a new segment tonight. Now, the caveat is you have to wait till the end of the review to hear that segment, but we're going to do something called the Fab Four. And we're going to pick a actor, director, genre, whatever it may be, and we're going to give you our Mount Rushmore for that particular person or topic. It will not be Gerald's juice because then you could just list me 4 times, so we won't do that. That'll be too easy. But we'll be doing that at the end of this segment, and we're going to do Michael Keaton. So we're going to do Michael Keaton's Mount Rushmore, his Fab Four, what we collectively think are the 4 films that really define Michael Keaton's career. It was either going to be him or Tim Burton, but I think Nick is more of a Keaton guy than a Burton guy. Is that fair to say?
I mean, looking through the filmography today, bud, I got to tell you.
Ooh, okay, yeah. All right, okay. So we'll talk a little bit about Keaton's filmography at the end there as well. Now, since we're scrapping one big question, and we're not doing Spill the Peas this week, unless you have something. Did you have a news story you want to talk about? Because I didn't. I don't know what's happening in entertainment news. Do you have something?
Oh no, not the peas! Not the peas! Ah!
He's got something, guys.
No, I just wanted to hear the sound drop. I just love the sound. I worked so hard on that.
I thought you had something too. Man.
No, I don't. What happens out in Megalopolis bombed? We could talk about Megalopolis bombing.
I feel like a really big name passed away.
Chris Christopherson passed away yesterday, I think. Yeah, Chris Christopherson.
James Earl Jones a couple weeks ago. What are you talking about that?
Yeah, James Earl Jones passed away a couple weeks ago. Although Darth Vader will live in perpetuity forever because he signed over the rights to his voice to Disney to use in Star Wars literally until the end of time. So we will die someday, Gerald, but James Earl Jones will still be voicing Darth Vader. His grandchildren's grandchildren will still be making money off of Darth Vader, which kudos to James Earl Jones. May he rest in peace for securing his family's future.
Well,
get that bag, man.
Such a legend too, though, man. I mean, Vader, of course, but I mean, Lion King. He was one of my favorite parts of The Sandlot. I mean, the guy just is iconic.
Fences,
Field of Dreams. Yeah, for sure, man. Rest in peace to those guys, and obviously sad that they passed on as usual way too soon. Even though they lived very full lives, and
James Earl Jones was like in his 90s, dude.
Too soon. Way too soon. All right. Beetlejuice by Mr. Tim Burton. And then speaking of filmographies, man, I feel like I'm going to shit all over this guy's filmography, and that's crazy because he's one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, which it's a weird relationship I have with Burton. We'll talk a little bit about that. Now, what we are not getting rid of, Nick, and the soundtrack that you can continue to use is for the early score reveal.
Listen, I made all these sound drops, and I'm in control of the soundboard. I'm in control. I'm in control of the soundboard, Gerald. These sound drops will never go away. Someday I'm going to have to ask you a question, and I'm just going to push the button. You don't know when it's going to come. It's going to be ninja questions, baby.
We'll be out at Jimmy John's getting a sub, and you'll play the sound drop and be like, I have a question for you.
You got to get that on like a little clicky thingy where I can just walk around and be like, click, 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 click. But no.
Or when you call me, it's just the sound drop.
Score reveal. I mean, Gerald's Juice early score reveal, baby. Let's go.
Do it.
Damn it! This always happens. I think I'm going to score, and then I never score. It's not fair.
It's not fair.
So we'll see if it's fair or not. We give our scores out of 10 up front to each other. We have not discussed it yet. It's what we call the early score reveal. Nick, I'll count us in. We'll do it, man. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Daddy is put. What the fuck? You did that to bring the score down. That can't be real. Let's tell the audio audience.
That is real. It is real.
Daddy dropped a 7 on it. Nick dropped a 3. So that's a 5.
I wanted to make the math really easy for you when you're on your first week back. Like I figured you would really struggle with the math of this whole thing.
I come back after 5 or 6 weeks off, and he's given Beetlejuice a 3. I mean, this is my life. This is my. Now you guys know why I took 6 weeks off. I had to recover from the last fucking rating you gave. I don't remember what it was. Alien Romulus. He gave it a 5, and I quit after that. I mean, I took a fucking 2 months off after that. All right, so we're right back. We're right back in the driver's seat here. Well, let's do spoiler free though, Nick. Now, I do want to. I'm going to hand it over to you because what I want to lead with though to pass it to you is that you, my understanding at least, is that has never seen the original Beetlejuice. At least not all the way through. You've seen popular culture bits and pieces or whatever, but you've never seen that film. You did go and see this film tonight as we're recording. You just saw it a couple hours ago.
Yep.
A 3 hurts me. I'll tell you why I liked it, but go ahead. From somebody who's never seen the original, why are you bombing this thing, buddy?
I've seen like little bits and pieces of the original. Probably.
You know what? Stop. You know what? Stop. You know what? I don't even want to give you the floor. Never mind. Forget it. I don't even want to hear. I don't ever want to hear this. Go ahead. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. A 3 out of 10.
Now, listen, like, we'll talk about later when we talk about the Fab Four and stuff like that, but, I mean, everybody who knows me knows this about me, Gerald. Batman 89 is the movie that made me love movies. Like, it's the movie that kind of opened up my love of cinema like to the world. And this has got all those ingredients. It's got Keaton, it's got Burton, it's got music by Danny Elfman. This should be tailor-made for me to love this.
Mm-hmm.
I legitimately sat stone-faced through this entire movie. I did not laugh once. I did not think any of this was funny at all. The first act in this movie is dreadful. The setup of this whole plot in this movie is dreadful. Like, it gets better once they
have
go
to set
to
it
like,
up, though.
It gets better once they go, like, once the plot actually goes and they like have to go to. Well, we'll talk about it more in spoilers and stuff because I don't know how much of it was like in the trailer or whatever. But once they get to where they have to go in the plot and whatever, it's better. But like, there's different side plots in this movie that completely didn't work for me, and I don't have any nostalgia for this thing. So none of the, if there's any references in here that I missed, which I'm sure there's a million, if there's any like adoration or anything like that for these characters that I'm supposed to be carrying through from the first film, then I don't have any of that. So I legitimately just sat there non-reacting to it. I was kind of bored. Like, Keaton's having the time of his life, and I love Catherine O'Hara. She is just given her everything. He's just burying his head in his hands at this point, folks.
Screenshot like, this. This is my life on Two Piece since June of 2022 or whatever.
I just did not enjoy any of this, like literally at all. I just didn't enjoy any of it.
I knew you were going to play the nostalgia card or lack thereof, and I'm just going to tell you, I had a fucking blast with this movie because, yes, there's nostalgia built into it because I love the original, as we've already discussed. And Keaton, in the titular character of Beetlejuice, created an iconic character. In the first film, he's only in it like 17 minutes, and it's like, it's his name on the poster, it's his image, and his kind of the memes and everything that have kind of lived on based on his performance. What we get at Beetlejuice here is a lot of the fan service for that kind of stuff, but we get a wholly unique. What I love, why I love this movie, and it's a 7 out of 10, so it's not like I'm raising the roof or whatever. But I mean, I did really enjoy it. But why I love this movie is because, and I'm not even kidding you. In fact, I should go back real quick on this. Let me pull it up while I'm talking. But this is the first Tim Burton directed film that I walked out of the cinema not being disappointed in probably 20 years.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
When did Big Fish come out? Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, probably. Let me find Big Fish.
Big Fish was the 90s, wasn't it? Or was it the 2000s?
I don't know,
I can't remember.
What? Here it is. Big Fish was 2003. So yeah, 20 years, 21 years. So, and I'm doing that off the top of my head, but I think that's the last movie of his where I was like fulfilled as a fan of his. Now, I say that, and 20 years have passed. And if you ask me right now to give you my top 5 filmmakers, he's going to be in that top 5. So what's kind of fascinating to me is that in the 90s, in the late 80s, and all the way through the 90s, basically, into the early 2000s, he created a filmography that was so strong. And not only strong from like a filmmaking perspective, but like from a zeitgeist pop culture perspective. Like, the dude had his hands in so many things that we kind of take for granted today. And, Edward Scissorhands, the 2 Batman films that he did, Beetlejuice, which obviously we're talking about here, he even did remakes like Sweeney Todd. I mean, the guy, like, really just got me. Like, I was sucked in immediately. And then obviously his involvement in creation of The Nightmare Before Christmas and so on. But then it, like, stops. And there's, like, nothing that I can raise a glass to for literally 20 years from this guy, but he still remains one of my favorite filmmakers. And seeing this film, Beetlejuice, it was like Tim Burton was back. And I know people use the phrase, "we're so back." That's how I felt as a Tim Burton fan seeing this movie. The nostalgia was part of it, but I just had fun with this thing, man. Like, I just had a blast with it. Insert Jenna Ortega, who I love. She's a fresh young face to this cast of characters.
She's probably the best part about this movie, too, I'm going to be honest.
Catherine O'Hara might edge her out in that category, but they're
Yeah,
both
it's
really,
close.
really
Yeah,
good.
that is close.
Yeah.
That is. I mean, Catherine O'Hara is just having a blast in this, and you
Man,
can tell.
so good, man. And and I know you haven't seen the whole first one, but she's better in this one than she was in the original. I mean, she's really has a lot more to do in this film, and is a lot more nuanced as a character and as a performance. But man, Nick, I don't even know what to say to you, man. Like, I want to do a review show, but I was thinking at least a 5. I mean, a 3 is like you'll never watch this again with somebody else's eyeballs. I mean, it's crazy.
No, not
right,
really.
well.
And let me caveat it too. Like, you're the horror guy, right? You got the horror guy sign on the wall behind you.
Sure.
You're probably more of a fan of the spooky, the macabre, all that kind
sure.
of different stuff. So that kind of humor is going to work a lot better for you as well than it's going to work for me. It just doesn't it just doesn't work as well for me. You know, like it really feels disconnected. I mean, like I said, Keaton's having fun, and I really do love Keaton, but I don't feel any connection to this character. I didn't get why I should be. Well, we got to talk about a lot of this stuff in spoilers. I don't want to mention any of that stuff because I was thinking about some different things, but I don't want to bring any of that up until we get into.
I want to ask you some questions too, but I feel like they'll be spoilery as well. So, Dan, do your thing. When we come back on the other side of this promo break, we will be into spoilers for Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. We will be right back, or maybe Nick will be back. I don't know if I can make it through the rest of the episode, but somebody will
back,
be back.
You back out for 6 weeks after the halfway point of this one. You're just like, no, you know what? I got to go again.
Oh my God. 3, 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I decided to remain friends with Nick. It was not easy, but I really looked within myself, and I said,
I paid him.
I said, there's a toxic environment out there on Twitter and everything else, and I'm not going to be that guy. If he doesn't,
I don't want to
then,
listen. I know I am critical of movies, and I know I do not rate everything really, really highly.
Everything. What?
People want to think that I hate movies and whatever. Like, go spend 5 minutes when Minecraft Live was over the weekend and they announced a new developers, there's people over there on Twitter sending Minecraft developers death threats over Minecraft Live updates.
Yeah.
I love movies. I get that I'm hard on them, and I get that it takes I'm pretty critical. I got very particular taste when it comes to movies, but I love movies. I still try to have fun and still try to enjoy this experience of talking about movies, even if it's something I wasn't as big of a fan of. Go spend some time, or I spend way too much time in way too many toxic circles, Gerald, wrestling Twitter, Minecraft Twitter, our Discord channel where Brad is.
That's the worst of all of them. If we can endure that, we're good.
That is true, man. If we could live through Brad's Tubi posts, we can get through anything, folks.
Man, I'm going to gush about a lot of nostalgic feelings I had while watching this. There's some stuff that was new to this installment that we didn't necessarily get in the first one.
I mean, the good thing is that's what people are here for, G, is they want to hear your nostalgic gushing. They don't want to hear he hasn't even seen the first one. He doesn't even know what a Beetlejuice is.
Yeah. I want to ask
whatever.
you, though. I didn't want to ask in the non-spoiler part, though, because by the way, this is full spoilers for the rest of the episode, guys. But I didn't know where the conversation would go, so I wanted to wait until now. But what did you think? I'm not going to tell you what I thought, but what did you think of the musical numbers in this? I mean, we have the Soul Train stuff that we see a few times. We have
the Soul Train stuff was cool. The Soul Train stuff was cool.
Raining on the Wedding Cake, the final musical.
Oh no, that was terrible. That was horrible.
Oh
my
God,
so
now
awful.
I'm going to tell you right now. That's my favorite part of the fucking movie, and I want you to retract that statement because this is on camera here.
He's getting ready.
That was the worst part of the movie.
He's getting ready to leave again. No, it was awful. That was dreadful.
Nick, I could be wrong, but
if it hadn't been lip syncing, if they would have actually sung it, no matter how badly they sung it, it would have been funnier. I know it's an actual song, but don't lip sync the actual song.
Hold on.
Sing
Nick,
the song.
Now look, we have a lot of friends in movie reviews and critical circles and whatever. I don't think you and I are supposed to review a movie and then I just leave for 6 weeks. All right, that's what's about to happen. I have to recover from this. That was my favorite part of this movie. I loved the just kind of over the top, like dramatic, like silliness of that scene, while still kind of bringing everything to a head. One thing I do want to say that you kind of touched on earlier.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you 100%.
If they were singing it.
They had pulled the lever all the way down and they had actually sung the song and turned it into a musical number. They're just lip syncing and it just comes off bad.
But see, that never bothered me. I didn't even think about it until you just said it. I don't know. I thought it was kind of part of the silliness of it. Was
like
them,
I wanted to hear Keaton belting out that song in his raspy ass Beetlejuice
But I thought
voice.
of it.
Like that would have been hilarious. That would have been way funnier to me.
That would have been awesome. But I also kind of equated it to like the bad lip readings that they do for the NFL and stuff when like they're pretending like they're saying something that the player. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen those before? The bad lip readings.
I think okay, sure.
I don't know. People
so.
hopefully know what I'm talking about, but it's like I kind of equated it to that, where it was like they were lip syncing, but they were doing it kind of poorly, and it was like obvious that they were, but that was part of the shtick of the scene. Anyway, I love that scene, but as somebody that did not like this movie, you gave it a 3 out of 10. You haven't seen the first one. Are you? Tell our audience right now. I know that you love Michael Keaton. I know that your affinity for 89 Batman, we mentioned that earlier. Are you more or less inclined to go back and watch the original to see where this came from?
No, infinitely less. Infinitely less. If I would have enjoyed any part of this experience, then I would be like, yeah, you know what? I do need to check it out now. Literally any. And granted, when did the original come out? Sometime in the 80s,
87.
Right? 87. Yeah. So it's almost 40 years ago. If I haven't ponied up the time to watch it in that space of time, that shows you how little interest I have in it.
Yeah, you're watching it for the show. Just
that's how I end up watching most of this stuff. Gerald, listen, if y'all can get as mad at me as you want to about Gerald makes me, okay? He builds the schedule for the show.
I mean, what person hates Beetlejuice 2? I don't know. Nick, where do you want to go? So lead us through when this movie started, all right, you were talking about the first act and the setup and I'm assuming you're talking about her show as she's like a medium.
Yeah, like a psychic medium or whatever.
Psychic or whatever. So when did you go, this is not for me? I mean, was it within the first 5 minutes or was it like halfway through the movie or like when were you off the wagon? I'm
not gonna lie to you. The first act of this movie is so bad. I was at a 1, Gerald. I was at a 1 by the end of the first act of this movie. Listen, I'm gonna be that guy. I'm not a Winona Ryder fan. I find her dreadful in everything she's in.
All right. Well, Julio just unsubscribed.
I'm not a Winona Ryder fan. Like that's step 1. Okay, but even forgetting that. Like I like Jenna Ortega, I like Catherine O'Hara. Yeah, I was like, I love Keaton and everything like that. So I'm like, let me just go in with an open mind and let me see if I'm gonna find it. Maybe I'll just find it funny as just kind of this off kilter, dark, macabre humor sort of thing, or whatever. So you get this whole different plot of. Justin Theroux's her manager but they're also boyfriend girlfriend or whatever. He's like this. He's so over the top smarmy. Like I just really hated his character. Like I don't know.
But that's
one of those.
Point. I did too.
I hated that character, but not in a. I'm supposed to hate him because he's like not a nice guy kind of way. I just really, really hated the character. Like I hated the choice to play him as such a smarmy D-bag. Like, I don't know, like that didn't really work for me. And then I don't know, like I don't feel like the film spends enough time establishing, because the core of this film and the core of the kind of emotional arc of the film should be the relationship between Lydia and her Astrid is her daughter's name, I think. There should be it should be the relationship between those two, because she had Astrid and then her husband disappeared, never to return. I was for sure he was coming back alive at some point, because they're like, oh, he disappeared and she can't speak. She can talk to ghosts, but she can't talk to him. So I was
Well,
for
she
sure he
sees
was
him in
coming
the
back
afterlife.
alive.
Oh, you mean in the real world? Okay.
In the real world, I was for sure he was going to be like alive somewhere and show up back in the movie, but he didn't show up back in the movie. So it doesn't spend enough time establishing kind of their mother-daughter relationship. I think it's focused on kind of too many other things. Like I'm going to be that guy. Like, I'm sorry, the entire Monica Bellucci, like she's Beetlejuice's wife plot is terrible. Whole thing could have gone right out the window. Whole thing.
100% agree with you. There was no reason for that storyline to be in the movie, with the exception of that's Tim Burton's wife or girlfriend.
Is she in the first one?
Sure. No.
Okay,
No,
so that's just something they just made up for this one.
She's his current. I'm not sure if it's wife. I'm sorry. I don't know if they're married. But anyway, she's his current love interest in real life, and he has a kind of reputation, much like Rob Zombie, of putting his female into the movies. So that's why she's in the movie. I did like some of the scenes involving her, particularly the one where her body parts come back together with Danny DeVito was there, which was a cool cameo. I love that scene, but
I mean, I loved seeing Danny DeVito in a cameo. Like Danny DeVito's always really, really great. I loved.
That was cool.
I loved seeing him. He was drinking Drano. God, I should have my Eckhart. I should have my Eckhart Batman '89 song clip all queued up here.
You should.
I don't even have it on the soundboard. I can't
let it
even play
rip whenever
right
you find it.
The drinking Drano.
But what I want to say is, I was afraid we were I was afraid we were going to be in agreement with that, because that's really what brought this down to a 7 for me. Were all the kind of wayward storylines that never really seemed to tie together to what we ultimately get, which I was satisfied with the movie, but kind of to your point, it's like, why did we have the Monica Bellucci storyline? Why did we really even have the Willem Dafoe storyline, with the exception of just being able to see him as this kind of sitcom detective, which was kind of funny and
I liked the running gag of his secretary constantly bringing him coffee. Like I thought that I chuckled a little bit at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I loved him in this, but at the same time, did we really need it? I mean, no, we didn't. We didn't need that. We didn't need Bellucci. So I knew we were going to kind of be in agreement there, but it didn't bring the quality of the film down for me. There was just too much going on. What about the Jenna Ortega storyline? I want to ask your opinion with the young boy, the teenage boy that she meets. Did you know, and we're into spoilers here, guys, did you know the minute that they met that he was going to be a ghost, or that he was dead?
No.
You didn't? Because I said to myself right away, I was like, well, he's in the afterlife. Like, I kind of knew, but what I didn't know, though, is that he was going to be evil.
But why did you think he was in the afterlife from the minute you met him then?
It was just a weird, because it was like this kind of like surreal meeting. Like, it seemed almost too perfect.
I mean, it seemed like a very Hollywoody meet cute to me. Like, I mean,
kind of, but
I've seen cheesier meet cutes.
Just like appeared out of the treehouse. I'm like, all right, he's dead. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it. But I did not think that he was evil, though. I didn't see that plot twist coming.
See, that's so here I talked about the first act, right? So first act, I'm at a 1, dude. I hated the setup of this movie. I thought it was all over the place. I'm like, it's all these meandering different plots. They're trying to kind of hang up and set up all these different little plot threads and everything. And then when it gets into the second act, like they get to the town for the funeral and she meets the kid and they have a whole like connection and everything. They actually had pretty good chemistry. I'm sorry, I don't know the actor's name that played the young man, but
I think it was like a TV actor, but yeah.
I thought that they had pretty good chemistry. I kind of really, really enjoyed that, and I was really anxious to kind of see more of that plot develop. And then when I found out he was dead and that he was just trying to use her to steal her soul to come back to like the living, and that he was actually like a bad dude and a murderer who killed his parents and stuff, like all of a sudden all those clues clicked into place for me when I found out he's dead. It's like, oh yeah, my mom just does nothing but stress bake all the time and my dad just lives in that room watching TV. Well, yeah, because they're just dead. And so that's like what they do. That was what they were doing when they died. Right, exactly. Right. Yeah. So I'm just like, oh, all of a sudden, like all of it clicked. But like you introduce like that compelling plot. So by this point, like the movie had improved for me enough. Catherine O'Hara's in there. Michael Keaton's doing his Michael Keaton thing. I'm enjoying it. Like my score's creeping up. Like I'm getting up into 4 or 5 territory. I'm like, okay, if the movie keeps on this trajectory, I'm going to enjoy this thing. But then they kill the kid off like so quick. like that whole plot, like they get into the afterlife and he steals her soul, tricks her to go to the soul train, which is what that was funny. Tricks her into going to the soul train. And then immediately that plot is the next time you see that kid, Beetlejuice is there and just drops him into hell, and it's that whole plot's just gone. It's over. Like all that stuff wrapped up way too quickly, and that was to me the most compelling plot thread of the movie. And then you had the Monica Bellucci thing. We talked about that, but that was the weakest plot to me because you set up this whole thing of this woman stitching herself together and all this stuff. You're setting her up as a big bad, but then Gerald, she disappears for 45 minutes. You don't see her again until like the beginning of the third act.
It's so it's just wandering the halls occasionally, and that's it.
Yeah, like what's going on with this character? So then you drop the one plot thread that I thought was really saving this movie, which was Jenna Ortega and the boy. Like he should have been the big bad. Like he should have just been the bad guy, like the main villain, like all the way through this movie. But you don't know he's the villain until you get like to that middle of the second. That would have been so much more compelling. And it just feels like all this other stuff, like the Willem Dafoe stuff, I didn't really mind. But you're right, it was just kind of a distraction at the same time. But like it was intentional comedy that they were trying to play for laughs, if you understand my meaning. Like they were deliberately trying to get a laugh out of you with it, instead of it just being something funny that you were laughing at in the moment or in the context of it or whatever. Like he was like turned into the camera and he'd have like a quippy line or whatever.
Right.
Like Willem Dafoe is an amazing actor. I love Willem Dafoe, and I don't think he's bad in this, but I don't think the movie needs him. And yeah, like I said, you dump the kid, who I thought was the best plot of the movie, and you dump that whole he steals her soul thing. Like that should have been this whole movie, like them chasing him through the afterlife, through whatever different layers of the afterlife to try to get Jenna Ortega's soul back. Like, why did we have to have this whole wedding subplot of her to Justin Theroux? Because the dude was such a piece of shit. I was like, she's never going to end up marrying him at the end of the movie. Like, it's never, ever going to actually happen. So I'm just like, can we just not with this whole Justin Theroux was the worst part of this movie for me, probably. I just, like, I know you're supposed to hate his character. I know he's supposed to be a D-bag, but, like, it was played so D-baggy that I was just like, I hate this. Like, I just actively hated him, and I hated him being on screen. I did love Catherine O'Hara constantly poking Lydia and being like, are you going to call off the wedding, right? Are you going to call off the wedding, right?
And the daughter, too, yeah.
Like, I mean, how did you feel? So I'm talking a lot. I want to get back to you because you're the one that enjoyed this movie here. Where were you on the kid's plot, the plot with the kid who ended up being dead and you know takes her to the afterlife to steal her soul and all that stuff? Where were you on that plot, like in general?
Well, like I said, I kind of saw it coming that him and his family were dead, and that turned out to be true. I did not see that he was going to be evil, that he was a heel. So when that reveal came, I was pleasantly shocked, where you're like, oh, okay, they got me. You know, I didn't see that coming. So I did really enjoy that turn, but then we don't do anything with it. Like, I mean, we see that kid again standing in line to like cash out his ticket or whatever 20 minutes later, and, you know, and they take him out or whatever. But that, like, there was no build up. There was no like kind of letting that simmer once you find out. It's like you just find out and you're shocked for a few seconds, and then, you know, we're on to, you know, Monica Bellucci roaming the halls or whatever. I mean, it was a weird...
Monica Bellucci's character should have been her own entire movie. Like, do a Beetlejuice 3, and then just have it just be Monica Bellucci's character coming back and stitching herself back together and then chasing after Beetlejuice, and he has to somehow get Lydia to help him get rid of her or whatever. Like, something.
Yeah, you could call it The Bride of Beetlejuice, and it could be like a Frankenstein play on.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That would have been kind of neat. I just feel like this thing added in way too many characters, and you're exactly right. They don't do anything with that kid because he disappears for 20 minutes, and then the next time you see him, he's in line trying to get his. I think he has to get his passport stamped in order to get his soul. And then it turns out it's Beetlejuice, and it's just like you're shit out of luck or something. And like I said, he pulls the lever and drops him into hell, and that's it. That kid's just gone, and that whole plot's over with.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to Jenna Ortega, though, I did love the casting, and I did get a sense like
she's so good.
She's awesome anyway. I love her from Scream.
Yeah, just in general, like she's really really talented. She's got a lot of screen presence.
she did Wednesday with Tim Burton on Netflix as well, which I honestly didn't watch, but I want to, and I know she's probably great in it. But when I see her casting and I see her in the movie, I'm like, okay, we're bringing in the younger audience, because this movie came out in 1987. I mean, I'm 48 years old. Like, I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, how are you going to get people to see this and to care about it? And she did that single-handedly, I feel like. I feel like she really carried that younger demographic in the film. And, I mean, the young boy that we're talking about, I mean, he was fine, too. I mean, he hasn't done a lot of movie stuff, and I had never seen him prior to this. But, I mean, what you have is you have a ton of nostalgia with Winona Ryder, Michael Keaton, even Tim Burton to a certain extent, and Catherine O'Hara, the different practical effects that they use for the stop motion for the sandworms and all that stuff was in the first one. You have all that old school nostalgia. If you're over 40 years old, you're going to love that shit. But what if you're not? And then you have Jenna Ortega, and you have that storyline, the youthful kind of storyline, where almost like her character of Astrid's kind of almost like rolling her eyes at the original. Or like, you know, like, you're going to marry this guy, Justin Theroux, and you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And almost like that kind of like teeny bopper mentality to us old folks, you know. And I thought that was a great blending. And I think that she really did an amazing job at making that work, that side of the angle kind of work there. What did you think of the way they handled the Jeffrey Jones? Well, you haven't seen the original. So Jeffrey Jones is the patriarch of the family.
Is that the one who died?
He died and got his head bitten off by a shark or whatever.
Right,
so that's why they don't ever have to use his likeness, except for that one claymation scene that they used on the airplane. But I don't know if you know.
Is that a thing that was in the first one, like claymation stuff too? Because that was weird. That came out of nowhere to me. I was like, what?
No, there was some stop motion in there, which of course, Burton has always kind of toyed with a little bit, but there was no claymation really. But I don't know if you know, but Jeffrey Jones in real life was arrested for like child porn and like, you know, soliciting young teen boys to like, you know, do sexual favors for him and stuff like that. So he's been canceled since like early 2000s.
Wait. So the dude that they're like. They're playing him going to like the play. He doesn't have a head and he speaks with his blood vessels spurting out at people.
Right.
That's what
they didn't use him though. That's not
why
him
did they
actually doing
I know
the
they
voicing.
didn't use him, but why dedicate an entire subplot to like that much of a scumbag dude who like clearly it's still meant to be the same dude.
Right. Well, what I was going to tell you is in the original Beetlejuice, it would be extremely hard to do a sequel in Winter River without that character. So they handled that character in a way 40, 35 years later or whatever, where he's dead. So he's in the afterlife. But we don't want to give Jeffrey Jones a paycheck. So we're going to use a headless dude that mumbles through his blood vessels or whatever. So they do use his likeness in that claymation scene, but that's about it. But anyway, in real life, he was arrested on this child porn ring or whatever, and he hasn't worked in Hollywood in over 20 years because of it.
They still used his face on the like tombstone, though.
Did they?
Yeah, his face is on because they had the like the whole glass.
I'm curious about
it was a glass shark fin tombstone or whatever. But yeah, his face is still on it.
So somebody not seeing the original, did that storyline make sense to you, or how did that play for you? The whole claymation, head shark, all that shit.
Oh, the claymation thing was weird as hell. I was like, what? Like, the claymation thing was weird as hell. I mean, I thought it was funny how, you know, she was like, oh, he died. He went across the world to watch birds have sex on a beach or whatever and then died or whatever. And then it wasn't the plane going down that killed him. It's like, oh no, he survived, and then he was floating in the wreckage and a shark hit his head off. Like, I thought that was funny too. You know, that wasn't bad or anything like that. But I mean, I don't know. Why? I mean, I guess I haven't seen the original, so I can't speak.
I don't know. It would just be.
Whatever.
I think if you see the original, you'll know what I mean. But he's in like 80% of that movie, and it would just be hard to at least not mention him in some way. Like,
I mean, you have to mention him, but like, do they have to have a whole subplot of Catherine O'Hara's character is like pining after her dead husband the whole time?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I asked what you thought about the handling of that. But
yeah, I didn't know like any of that kind of stuff.
Principal Edward Rooney from the Ferris Bueller movies, Jeffrey Jones.
Oh, that dude. Okay.
Yeah, did a lot of stuff in the 80s. But anyway, he's not in this project, obviously, because of his personal struggles or whatever. But that's how they decided to handle his character. We can wrap up on this and then get to our Fab Four for Michael Keaton. But, for me, Beetlejuice was a nice kind of potpourri of nostalgia. I freaking love the musical numbers, even though Nick did not. The last musical number in this film, the last like 10 to 15 minutes of me, I was in pure Nirvana bliss in this movie. The thing with the Beetlejuice baby, where they have that kind of horror scene where the baby comes, fucking starts eating the bomb and all that shit, and then you find out it's a drug. I love all that shit, dude. Which came after the musical number. And I love seeing Keaton do his thing. I mean, this is an iconic character that, it was written for, I feel like it was like Morgan Freeman or somebody crazy that I heard originally. And I just can't imagine. I mean, Michael Keaton just took this in 1987, before his career really had taken off, and just made a pop culture zeitgeisty character that we associate with Tim Burton, yes, but we associate with like the Halloween season and the afterlife whenever that's kind of told on film, especially from a comedic perspective. And I think, and I know Batman 89 is super pivotal for a lot of people, yourself included, but I think Michael Keaton's performance in Beetlejuice is truly iconic. And I'm not saying that his performance in Batman's not, but Batman was already an established thing. I mean, it was already something that people knew, and it was more so like, how is this guy going to play this? We know what Batman is. We read the comics. Much like Christopher Reeve probably felt in Superman, like, how is this guy going to translate this to the big screen? But when it comes to Beetlejuice, he just did it. He just did what he wanted to do. He improv'd. He made that character his own. And it's been in Halloween stores for costumes for 40 years. I mean, the guy created something, no matter what you think of the movies, that is just going to go down as one of the great cinematic characters, I feel like. And I love seeing that back on film. I was really in nostalgia heaven with that stuff. But it also brought enough originality to it for me to where I gave it a 7 because I love the Jenna Ortega aspect that we already talked about. Catherine O'Hara really hammed it up in this film. She, I know you haven't seen the original, but she is 10 times better in this one than she was in the original. I think a lot of that has to do with the maturity in her career and kind of knowing what she has with this franchise and this IP. And she was probably my favorite part. If I had to pick one performance, it would probably be hers in this movie.
I enjoyed her a lot.
Yeah. But I loved pretty much everything about it. The only, real knocks it gets from me is just try to do too much. That
I think is the biggest problem that this movie has. Nostalgia aside, how much you love the original aside, because I've talked to people since I got out of it. Like I was texting with some of my friends and different stuff like that. People who have a lot of love for the original movie and hated this, absolutely hated it. So I find it really, really interesting.
I've heard that too.
To see the kind of opinions all over the gamut there. I think that's the biggest problem for me. I think this feels like a couple of different scripts that they folded together. You've got the Monica Bellucci stuff, that was all in there. You've got the Willem Dafoe stuff, that was all in there. You've got the kid who was dead all along and he was really evil, stealing Jenna Ortega's Astrid soul.
Yeah.
You got all that kind of different stuff. And then you've still got the continuing kind of plot threads from the first film. Like, obviously, that was like the plot of the first movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, Beetlejuice wanted to marry Lydia or something like that to get her soul or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, so you got all those kind of things continuing forward as well. So there's just so much going on in this movie.
I agree.
And it's not long enough, and it doesn't really go into those plot threads as much as it needs to in order to really invest. Me particularly as an audience member, I got to tell you, like, even if I did really enjoy this, I would have enjoyed the nostalgia bits more if I would have been somebody who was already attached to the franchise or for somebody who already knew it. But I still probably would have really hated this because I feel like on a script level, I feel like there's just way too many plots. There's just way too much nonsense going on. And I mean, like I said, save Monica Bellucci for her entire other film. That kid should have been the whole villain of this whole movie, like stealing her soul. And it should have been like this grand chase through the afterlife. Yeah. All these, like they go to this sandworm planet, whatever that was. And I got flashbacks to Dune and I felt ill for a second. But like they do that whole thing. And I was like, oh, are we going to get like this whole thing where they're going to go through all these different parts of the afterlife trying to chase down and get the soul back? But I feel like maybe they didn't do that because that would have cost a lot of budget for sets and props and effects and all those kinds of different things that they didn't necessarily want to pay for. So it's like, we're down into the thing, and then it turns out, like, I mean, the dad thing was such a. I know we're wrapping up, but like, did the dad thing work for you? Like the dad reveal that she runs by the ticket counter and he's just there at the ticket counter.
No,
like,
that was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
thought,
Gerald.
In fact,
remember
I
in
looked
Trap?
over
Remember in Trap? Here's Shyamalan. There he is. You see him? So remember in Trap, like when he goes up on the roof, when God, who started Trap? I can't even remember now.
Josh Hartnett.
When Josh Hartnett goes up on the roof and all of a sudden opens his wallet and finds the ID card in there that he magically needs to save him in that moment. It's like they run by the ticket booth and it just so happens that her dead dad, who's got a whole bunch of fish chewing on him because I guess he drowned in the Amazon having piranhas eat him. All of a sudden he's just there in the ticket booth and it's like, okay, well that's their Deus Ex, like get out of sandworm free card, whatever.
To your point though, I took Logan to see this with me when I went to see it about a month ago, and I turned to him and I said, the dad's going to be alive. He's not dead. Because they kept mentioning the dad, and we knew he was going to be a plot point because they kept bringing him up. And we didn't see him in the original film. I
thought he was going to be alive. Like,
me too.
Not in the afterlife. Because they kept saying he just disappeared and she can't talk to him, but she can talk to dead people and sees ghosts.
That's why I said that.
So I'm like, he's still alive then. Like, that's what. So why... and I'm not familiar with the lore of this universe, Gerald, but if he was dead, why couldn't she talk to him then?
If he was dead? That's what I'm saying. That was one of those things they didn't really explain.
That's another whole huge plot thread in this movie and then like the kind of crappy thing too is he's in and out of the movie. Like it's this whole thing of like Jenna Ortega was really close to her dad and like idolized him and was really crushed because she's really estranged from her mother. So she has such a close relationship with her dad, but he's in and out of the movie in like 5 seconds. Like they have one scene at a table where they talk for like 30 seconds. He's like, you and your mom better get along now because you two need each other, blah, blah, blah. And then they have a hug and he sends them back to the it's so quick. And that's the kind of problem with this is there's so many things in this movie. Yeah. You can't fit it all in here. Yeah.
All right, well, it's a 3 from Nick, which pains me to say, and a 7 from me. So I don't know who's bringing up the score and who's bringing down the score, but it's going to be a 5 out of 10 cumulatively from the P's this week on Beetlejuice. Nick, let's talk about Michael Keaton, man. We're going to do this new segment called the Fab Four, where we're going to collectively come up with our 4 movies in his filmography that we think really capture what this guy has done in his career. So between the two of us, we're going to come up with our top 4. Might not be the best word because there might be movies that we might enjoy more.
I like Mount Rushmore. I like just straight up Mount Rushmore. Like, what's your Mount Rushmore of Keaton movies? Like, I like that a lot better than talking about like Fab Four. I don't know what that is.
Let's do our Mount Rushmore of Michael Keaton movies.
I like that.
And what would make it up? So what we decided we would do so that we could both basically get an equal play here and kind of make our argument is we'll just kind of alternate, and I'll give one, Nick will give one, back and forth. We'll have four movies that make up that Mount Rushmore of Michael Keaton movies. Nick, do you want to? I know what your first one's going to be. So
I know what we should do. What we should do is it should be whoever rated the movie higher gets to pick first on the Mount Rushmore. That's what I think we should do. That's what I think we should do with it. We're workshopping this segment in real time for you, folks.
We're workshopping it for you in real time.
I think whoever rates the movie higher should be the one that gets to pick it. Because, I mean, not that speaks more to your love of the person than the other person necessarily, but, that's your reward for enjoying a movie more, I guess. I don't know.
Well, also it's an easy way to just say who goes first, so that's fine.
That is an easy way to say who goes first. Yeah, I'll agree with that too. Yeah.
What I'll say though, is that politics might come into that a little bit, because I know that you and I both have one film dead center locked. It's Teddy Roosevelt on the fucking Mount Rushmore. He's right in the middle. So I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to say Beetlejuice. I'm going to say the original Beetlejuice from 1987 is on the Mount Rushmore of Michael Keaton movies. I've already said it. I mean, he created an iconic character. He created it. I mean, it was his performance and his interpretation of that zany Tim Burton written character that made it what it is today, and is the reason why we're even talking about a sequel 40 years later, is because of how much longevity and how much impact that character had. And Michael Keaton as an actor did that. Like, yes, it was written or whatever, and yes, you could have cast, Tom Hanks was huge at the time, and he was getting a lot of roles that Keaton would have gotten, and you could have cast all these different dudes. But, I mean, would we be looking at the same kind of implanted image in our pop culture as we are today? I don't think we would. So Beetlejuice for me, unless you have an objection, is going on the Mount Rushmore.
Ooh, I can object to your picks too. Is that a thing
we can discuss? We can
I
discuss
don't know.
if you have one that you think would fit better.
I can't take that away from you, because I know how much the character means to pop culture as a whole, even if it's not a franchise I am at all familiar with, or not something that I particularly enjoyed in the sequel's case. So I can't take that away from your Mount Rushmore. I really
So
I really can't.
What are you going to throw up there on Lincoln?
Come on, I'm putting Batman 89 up there.
I knew you were.
Mean, again, it's the movie that made me love movies. I used to hold my boombox up to the TV, and I used to record like the dialogue, and I used to record Danny Elfman's score and everything. Back in the EFG days, Justin and I did a whole like DVD commentary, like a commentary track of the movie.
Good shit,
just
man.
gushing over literally every frame of it. I love every single stitch of that movie. That movie's like 1,000 out of 10. I absolutely adore every fiber of my being. Like I said, it's the movie that really truly made me love movies, and made movies to me more than just silly entertainment or just something to do or just whatever. Like it really opened my mind to the art form that is cinema. Like it really started those things in my head turning at a young age, man. I love it so much.
I get it. Now here's the tricky thing, because I have the third face of Mount Rushmore here for Michael Keaton, and let me ask you. I mean, we can't have two Batman movies on the Mount Rushmore, right? Because Batman Returns.
It's our Mount Rushmore. We can put whatever we want on it.
We can. You know what?
Unless you put the Flash on it, in which case I quit the show.
So I'll let Julio or Brad do that. Look, man, you know what I'm going to do? And again, you can object and we can talk this out, but my next pick would be most likely Birdman for Michael Keaton. And I'm merely talking about his performance. It was Oscar nominated. Frankly, he should have won that year. He lost to Eddie Redmayne that year, which
that was it. Eddie Redmayne gave a good performance too. Come on,
He did.
Because he played, that was Theory of Everything, right? He played Hawking in that one. Yeah, he was good. He was real good in that too. Like, come on now.
I mean, you're right, but
Keaton's still great in Birdman though. Birdman's a really great film too. Yeah, really good.
And Keaton is doing essentially a mirror kind of placement where he was in his career too. I mean, obviously with the Batman stuff and playing this kind of broken down actor that used to play a popular superhero, and Keaton in general has just made a lot of really kind of strange choices in his career about the movies that he takes or the movies that he passes on. And then to end up landing in 2014 on Birdman, which he did get nominated for Academy Award. The movie, I like the movie, but I mean, it would probably be another 6 or 7 out of 10 for me. Like, it's not like, but his performance is a 10 out of 10. And I think that there's a lot of personal kind of skeletons that he brings with him to that performance that he really kind of lets out on screen and lets out in the acting that make it something truly special. If you're just compartmentalizing his performance and not judging the film as a whole, it's really a stellar, just kind of awe-inspiring thing that an actor can do where they kind of mimic their own experiences but do it in a performance-based setting for us as the audience. I think of somebody like Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler, like, giving this performance that's like not even of their body, like they're just out of themselves and they're just doing it to make something very special for us that'll live on forever, but they're also doing it based on their own experiences of what they've experienced in their real lives. And I think Keaton's performance in Birdman belongs on the Mount Rushmore. So that would be my pick.
I just want you to remember this film, Twitter people listening. Gerald just said
God.
Birdman's like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I like
Criminal.
All right. Well,
Emma
we can
Stone
cover
in that
in a
movie.
future
Come
episode.
on.
She's fucking awesome in that.
Get
film.
out of town. That movie's so good, dude. That movie is great. That was one of my favorites. That was 2017, 2018, or whenever that came out. That was one of my favorites that year. I love that movie.
2014, I think. Or 15.
2014. Oh, wow. God, is it that old? Is that long ago? Wow.
I think so, yeah. 10 years ago, yeah.
All right,
All right, so you got the last face on Mount Rushmore here, man. So let's recap. So far we have Beetlejuice, the original.
Yep.
Batman from 1989. Birdman from 2014. And what else are we going to put on the... Now, remember, Nick, this is not your favorite Keaton necessarily. This is just like the 4 films. Like if an alien came to Earth and they were like, show me 4 movies of this human, Michael Keaton, and that's the only 4 movies they can see from his filmography. So it kind of encapsulates his career.
I mean, you understand that in some cases the Mount Rushmore is going to be the 4 movies of that person or thing I've actually seen, right? it gets
2 only, really.
When I was looking through his filmography, like I had thought that I had seen a lot more Keaton films than I had seen.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, granted, now Keaton kind of went through this thing later in his career where he played a lot of, I won't say similar type characters, but a lot more of your kind of older, wiser character. Like he was in, I'm looking through his filmography right now. Like he was in Spotlight. He was really, really good in Spotlight.
Really good.
Really, really good. I mean, he played Ray Kroc in The Founder. He was really, really good in The Founder as well. He was in Tim Burton's Dumbo, which is one of the worst movies of the last of the 2010s. Unbelievably terrible movie. Hated that movie. Trial of the Chicago 7. I saw him in. He was also in The Flash. I mean, I guess. Do we put The Flash on there?
No, don't put The Flash on the Mount Rushmore. I'll kill you. We could have a debate because I know what I would put at my 4th based on what we've already picked.
I'm interested to hear what you would put as your 4th because I'm juggling between 2. I think I would settle on one over the other. If you want me to round out the Rushmore for the alien that's got to see 4 different performances from this person, I'm interested to hear what you would pick.
I would pick the movie that really launched his career and showed his quirky kind of leading man qualities, and that's Mr. Mom from 1983.
Yeah,
that's what Mr. Mom. I mean, that's what. I mean, he wouldn't have a Hollywood career if it had not been for the success of that film. So I feel like that would be on his Mount Rushmore. Now, is it a good film? No.
I don't know because I haven't seen it.
Is it dated? Absolutely. It came out in 1983. But again, I mean, you dealt with the kids. I mean, you've had to get them ready for school and make their lunches and pick them up and take them to practices. And, so this is a whole movie dedicated to him having to do that. Mr. Mom, I don't know, man. But again, it's not his best. It's not in his top 4 films, quality-wise.
Right.
What would be the 4th one that you would argue with me there?
I would. So there's a selfish part of me that says just put Batman Returns up there, but we've already got Batman 89 up there, and we can't just take up 2 spots on Mount Rushmore for Batman, even though
that's what I'm thinking.
I love Batman Returns too. There's another part of me that's like, you know what else he was really great in, but he's also a bird-themed or winged, like superhero type character. He's great in Spider-Man Homecoming. He's real good in that.
It's good.
But I mean, again, like, do we want to make this a bird-themed Mount Rushmore? Is this the top 4 bird-themed or winged superhero type?
He's good as Vulture, man.
He's good as Vulture. I would actually say because it's really a Keaton vehicle. Like, it's really a starring vehicle for him. Now, I was not as hot on the movie. Like, I think the movie, going back to what you said about Birdman, I think the movie's probably a 6 or a 7. I think the Founder. I think as Ray Kroc in the Founder, and the way he kind of takes control of that McDonald's empire, I think he's really, really good. He gives a much more subtle performance than he gives in Birdman. I think it's a really, really great performance, and I think because it shows how he has matured as an actor in terms of his growth, even since Birdman. And like kind of these Twilight years, like the roles he's taken, like that's why I mentioned Spotlight, or like I mentioned in Trial of Chicago 7, like those other kinds of movies, because his acting and the roles he's chosen has matured a lot. Where I really think probably the best example of that, I would say, like I said, as opposed to picking another superhero movie or something like that, I think if you want to round out the Rushmore, I think you put the Founder up there. Maybe it's not necessarily your favorite Keaton, but man, you want to talk about Keaton performances? Like if you want vehicles of Keaton, I don't think you can look further.
The only thing I'll say, all right, because we can't defer to anyone else but you and I, is
you're putting the Vulture up there, aren't you?
No, but we kind of have that dramatic kind of adult role in Birdman.
You're right. You're right.
Mr. Mom is more of a quirky 80s comedy, schlocky, silly kind of role. So we would have Batman, obviously iconic superhero. So you cover all your bird related superheroes with that one. Beetlejuice, we already talked about, just the iconic imagery of that character. Birdman for his Oscar turning performance and just kind of the twilight of his career. So Mr. Mom is completely different, and not only is it completely different, it started his career in movies. I mean, it was really what made him a household name. That's why I would say Mr. Mom over the Founder, even though I like your take on why you chose the Founder. So I pled my case. So I'm going to let you pick the 4th spot because you have the 4th spot.
Oh man, I don't know.
Definitely.
It's your first week back. I rated the movie that you enjoyed a 3. I'm trying not to chase you right back out the door again. So I don't know. I think I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to Mr. Mom because that gives another genre that rounds it out a little bit more.
And he's a funny dude. He was a stand-up comic initially. Like that is true.
Although to be fair, also though, I mean, Beetlejuice is in some ways a comedy too. So
that's true.
He touches on that aspect in that too. But
that's true.
Even so, I'll give it to you because I'm afraid he's going to leave for 6 weeks again. You guys really want again. Brad to come back? Brad could come back and
Brad will fucking try
another
to
Horizon movie,
Western from like 6 people saw. Okay, so our Mount Rushmore of Michael Keaton is Batman 89, Beetlejuice, Birdman, and Mr. Mom. That is our top 4 movies that we think really harness Michael Keaton's movie career. A very interesting resume in Hollywood for sure, and definitely one of my favorite actors. And I loved him in Spotlight too. Shout out to that movie. You already talked about it. Yep. Batman Returns. He was so fucking funny in The Other Guys. You remember that one with Will Ferrell?
Yeah. I was actually like that was going to be like a left field sort of pick for me.
Hilarious in that. Jackie Brown, he got to be in the Tarantino flick. He was great in that. Just a great actor. I mean, just a great American actor. And I'm sorry you didn't like Beetlejuice more, but there you go, guys. What did you think of our Mount Rushmore of Michael Keaton movies? Let us know in the comments. And scold us for our 4 that we chose to put up there and carve in stone. Nick, next week I'm making you go out to the theater again, man. I'm sorry. Get your money out, get your tickets, do whatever you got to do. But we're going to see Joker Folie à Deux, the follow-up to the wildly successful Joker film that Todd Phillips did.
See, I thought what you were going to do is you were going to make me follow up our least listened to episode of all time on the least seen movie of all time, Horizon Part 1, with Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis, which is
I can't do that.
Probably the second least seen movie of all time, judging by the box office numbers.
Another 3.5 hour movie that literally 10 people saw. I can't do that to our audience. So we'll do Joker because more people will see that. So we're going to cover that one next week, guys. And then we have some fun stuff coming up for the Halloween season. We're going to let our patrons pick 2 horror movies for us. They're going to be on the Wheel of Death. We will spin it because Nick hates horror movies. We'll spin it.
Some kind of tubey nonsense on there from Brad. Already.
We've already got some very, very interesting selections in the Patreon over there. So our last 2 episodes for the month of October will be horror themed, and it'll be what our patrons selected for us. If you want to get involved in that, you still got time. Check the show notes, head over to Patreon, and for as little as $1, you can throw a movie in there as well and torture Nick, which after his rating on Beetlejuice, you should definitely do that. Nick, get back on the snowmobile. Be careful. I don't want anything to, blast you in the face when you're going downhill, so just take it easy out there.
Is Twisters going to be my number 1 movie of the year, Gerald? I'm looking back through the list. That's the last movie I did give
what
deep
a
cover.
reputable podcast we have. What was your number 1 movie of the year? It was Twisters. What a fucking classic that's going to be.
I
Wow.
mean, I really.
Sorry. Award season's coming up. You're good.
Award season's coming, and I do love a good award season drama.
you're
so
good. You're
I'm
good. You got time.
I'm sure maybe we'll see something in there that's going to dethrone. That's going to dethrone
Twisters. Best picture of the
If you
year.
feel it, chase it, Gerald. If you feel
Oh,
it, chase
my
it,
God.
baby.
Good Lord in heaven. Nick is happy. I'm happy to be back with you, man. I appreciate it. And let's talk Joker next week. Let's see if Lady Gaga can save this thing.
I'm gonna hate Joker Part 2 so much. I
Can
can't.
she
wait.
save it though? Can Lady Gaga save it? I'm a fanboy. We'll see.
I love me some Gaga too. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about it next week. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you then.